Hey guys, happy Saturday. Thanks for stopping by for another episode here at alliseeisW, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. In today's video, we'll be covering latest updates with Bitcoin, MicroStrategy, the big three Bitcoin miners, Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark. We'll be doing technical analysis, price predictions, how high I think Bitcoin can go in this cycle. What's my price predictions with strategy, MSTR? Mara, Riot, and CleanSpark. Now, if you're new to this channel, I'm so thrilled that you're here. I would really appreciate you smashing the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's begin, guys. Let's first off start off with a post from Matt. He's saying Bitcoin is up not even 1% in the last 250 days. That's the real reason why MSTR miners aren't rocketing. But what are we seeing as we look at Bitcoin? I mean, it's hovering in this bull flag. Yes, the month of July, August, September, it was consolidating. It had a slight pullback just recently in August, but it's only up from here. We've heard Eric Trump forecasting Bitcoin's going to 175,000. That's huge upside. That's like 70% from where we currently are right now at these levels. Beaver posts says, I expect a huge run up next week, until September 9th, 2025 for MSTR. The decision on whether strategy will be added to the S&P 500 is expected to be announced on September 5th, 2025 as part of the next quarterly rebalance. If approved, the inclusion would typically take effect after market close on September 19th, 2025. So when you think about companies like Coinbase getting added to the S&P 500, what happened on that day? It shot up by like 20% plus. And if strategy can get added to S&P 500, it'll have a big bullish movement, with MSTR having, getting close to like 700,000 Bitcoin. That's really big. We scale out, Bitcoin is going to $1 million, 20, 30 years from now, it'll be in the multiple millions of dollars. So definitely huge upside for strategy. Saylor posts MSTR is the number one performing large cap US stock out of 1,400 since adopting the Bitcoin standard. So just look, annualized returns of top US public companies since the time when Saylor started buying Bitcoin when he created game theory 5 years ago. Strategy 93% annualized returns when you compare it to like other companies like Nvidia, Supermicro devices. It's done so well. And strategy, yes, we're seeing some consolidation, but nothing for a cause of concern. I think things are going to be very bullish through the rest of the year. Jason posts his true story. So how it all started 2 years ago. We had Mara, CleanSpark, Riot, Cypher, Iron. Everyone was buying into Mara, CleanSpark just with the last couple years. And what has happened since, how it's going now, you know, Iron has done such a great job. The stock price back in April, May was like $5. Now it's like $28. Very bullish with its AI ecosystem, along with being a miner. They don't have any HODL. That's one of the downsides. However, they're doing very well in terms of investor interest, capitalizing on the fundamentals. Cypher, there's getting a lot of, investor acknowledgement as well. Riot, Mara, CleanSpark are behind in the race. However, that doesn't mean that Riot, Mara, CleanSpark are going to be underperforming for a long time. In this cycle, in this sector, things go through seasons. You have underperformers or the laggards, underperform. And then at one point, the laggards become the leaders where they start outperforming. That's how I see it. So everything is ebbs and flows. It's a cycles game. And I really do think that, the outperformers will take a pullback while the underperformers will start, leading the way. TrendSpider posts is bullish OBV divergence spotted. What is OBV? You can think of that as volume increase relative to the price. Trend Spider posts is Mara trying to bottom out here. So we've been seeing, lower prices, but just recently we had a slight uptick. Now it's at that around that $16 range since August 25. OBV has been climbing up, which means there's investor interest buying low on these prices. Definitely undervalued, relative to the current price. But where we currently are, when we see OBV rise, that's going to be relative to RSI increasing as well as as the price. I really do think we're going to see some bullish activity starting next week with Mara and the rest of 2025. This company has over 50,000 Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin gets to 180,000 this year, things are going to look very bullish. So what goes down will eventually pop back up. Urkel also posts about Mara. Held up great all week. I still like the setup. We'll see if it finally moves next week. So it's been primed, it's been consolidating. It's going to have a pop up. With last week, we saw so much volatility with Bitcoin, but like the big three Bitcoin miners like Mara, Riot, held up quite well. I mean, Mara was in the green yesterday when we had a huge pullback right before, the 3-day weekend. So I think, next week we're going to see some nice run-ups, potentially Mara breaking through the 17 plus range. So definitely some huge upside from here on out. I think Mara's going to have a nice field day. The professor posts about Riot. He says Riot Launchpad is ready. You can't hate when a stock looks like this. So last bull run was back in 2020, 2021. $3 all the way to $80. Since then, from like 2023 through now, it's been just retesting and just getting denied on every resistance by about 5 times already. So for every reject on the resistance, that's an increase in the probability for it to break out where we currently are right now. You know, um, Everything is a cycles game, and Riot tends to perform like a meme stock. So definitely Launchpad is ready. We may very well see it break out very soon here. Blah, blah, blah. Posts Riot will print like a meme. So what is he showing? I mean, indicators back in 2014, we had a vertical pop. 2018, we had a vertical pop. 2021, we had a vertical pop. Every Bitcoin cycle we've seen so far had a vertical pop. Yes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. So definitely very bullish for an RSI to kick into gears, get up into the 80, 90 RSI. But definitely as altcoin season starts, I think Riot is definitely going to print as well. Let's take a look at this post. I'm the richest I've ever been. Ryan Iron is by far my largest position. Unpopular opinion, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Starting from today, CleanSpark will outperform Iron through end of year. So it's going back to that visual, with CleanSpark on the last part where you have no one interested, and eventually you see CleanSpark with so many people interested. So psychology can change very fast, but I really like this use case that underperformers will become outperformers. Matt posts about CleanSpark. He said CLSK has had everything but the kitchen sink thrown at it this summer. 2024 import tariff judgment, lackluster earnings call, CEO steps down, YouTube influencers losing interest, retail capitulating, and yet FUD is exactly how local bottoms are formed. CEO resigns, but we're eventually going to see a cup and handle formation. Look at the relative strength. It's an oversold situation. I think eventually we're going to see a bullish divergence coming. And, you know, Matt saying told you so coming in September. We're looking at Bitcoin technical analysis. We saw Bitcoin back in August, 124,000. And then since then, it's just been bleeding out. Now, currently at 108,000. It'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin performs during this weekend. But I think that we're going to soon get through 109,000 upward. We had a major pullback recently in the last 2 weeks. People are wondering, is Bitcoin going to continue going down? But the key support level I think we definitely need to hold is 104,000. Anything below that, it could drive down even further. Now, key thing is we're below the Ichimoku cloud. So it's important that we get back into the Ichimoku cloud, surpass that, get back above it, because anytime when we're below it, that's where the gravitational pull down would drag the price down. So this weekend is going to, be a key support level, but I do think that we are going to have a nice reversal to the upside with Bitcoin. But like what Eric Trump says, 2025, along with my forecast, I think we're going to be somewhere around that 180,000 in this cycle. We're looking at MSTR's technical analysis. So, back in July, we saw MSTR getting up to 460. We thought that it was just going to continue to climb. And since July 15 to now, it's been pulling back 460 to 330. That's a 130 drop off game. However, the key thing is we're looking at the MACD bearish indicators. I think we're going to start seeing green vertical candles here. and you couple that with relative strength being on the, oversold side of things, we're going to see a reversal. I'm bullish as we head into, September, October. I think we're going to get somewhere around that 550 range. So definitely MSTR with any inclusion with S&P 500, things are going to reverse right away and there's going to be significant money inflows coming in. Let's take a look at Mara's technical analysis. So what are we seeing right now? It had a dip from $21 back in, July to now. We have this, U-shaped cup and handle formation form, you name it. Definitely do think it's de-risked, buying at this point. Next week, I think we're going to bounce into the $17, $18 range. It's been extremely oversold. You know, definitely Mara has that upside pop coming, especially with Bitcoin, surging. Mara is going to have a nice field day with, it's 51,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. Yes, we hear a lot about the news and all that, but just based on technicals, this is a prime candidate for a nice reversal. Riot Platforms, what are we seeing? We're looking very bullish with Riot seeing this cup and handle formation forming, after that RSI overbought situation 76, during that Q2 earnings announcement, it had a big dip there and now it's just been climbing up. We're seeing MACD bullish divergence forming. I think we're going to see this nice play out where cup and handle formation, we're going to see this pop somewhere around $22 on the near term course. But as we scale out, we've seen, what has happened with Riot, on the last couple cycles, it goes banana formation. So as we get this near term cup and handle take place, then we may very well see it break out. Who knows how high it can go, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes like above 50, above $80, even plus that. Let's take a look at CleanSpark. So CleanSpark, there's been a lot of hate, but when there's hate, that's only going to pressurize a stock to do well. I think that where we are right now, huge bloodbath since the run up top of close to $14, where it is 950. I think the bearish histograms have dissipated along with relative strength being oversold. This is the time right now for the reversal. And I believe, as we head into the next couple of weeks, September, October, we're going to start getting back into the double digit range. It starts breaking into the $12 range. Then we're going to start saying, hey, CleanSpark's going to be going to 18 onward, a $20 upside plus. So definitely things can change very fast. And I remain bullish on CleanSpark, even though we had, the change in the leadership. Now they're going to be, pivoting to HPC AI. So that's looking bullish. And, the amount of Bitcoin they mine every month, very bullish. So definitely a CleanSpark. I think things are just going to switch quickly, with the use case. And that's when people are going to, have their investments flow back into CleanSpark. So if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you with the subscribe, a like, let me know what your comments are, how high you think Bitcoin strategy and the big three miners are going to be going through the rest of 2025. Thanks, guys. And I hope that you can join my live stream tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific. Take care.